Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have a licensed physical therapist with over 5 years experience in specializing in helping high-profile clients, including elite athletes, celebrated artists, and renowned celebrities. Philip Andersson, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you very much, Dave. My pleasure.
My pleasure to have you. My pleasure to have you. Oh, so you've worked with some good athletes, and Sweden's got a couple of good. I used to do track, well, athletics really, but I know you've got a couple of good athletes at the moment. Pole vaulter. I forgot his name now. Mondo, is it? Yeah.
It's Duplantis.
Duplantis,
yeah.
I mean. So yeah. Mondo Duplantis. Yeah. So I know sports is a thing. Sweden can't be left behind in that. I mean, I think even in football, you had some good players. And there was a famous football coach. He unfortunately died recently.
Yes, Svennis Eriksson.
Yeah, he lived about 5 doors away from me on the same road as me when he was England football manager.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so that was quite interesting. I saw him a few times in his Mercedes pull up, but I've been around that. Yeah, I've been around sports, elite sports people. But tell us about yourself and how you got into all this, and then we can move on to what exactly you do and how it all works with you.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you said, I'm a licensed physical therapist and also have a very big interest in strength and conditioning. And, for 5 years, I only worked with professional football players, actually. It was both men and women. I actually got into the field of physical therapy because I wanted to work with professional athletes. And I always had my eyes on that goal. So I took a lot of different courses and stuff, and I always tried to improve. And, then firstly, I got an opportunity to actually work in a female professional club. And on that way, it started, and then I started to work with professional men's players, and through recommendations and through hard work, you advance, and that was also a bit what led me into working with musicians and artists and some models and some other celebrities. So it's all been based mostly off recommendations, and that's how we got here today.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, well, word of mouth is a very powerful tool these days. Even if you've got social media and things like that, it's still on recommendations and things like that it all happens. Whether the recommendation is, I'll send a quick email to my friend and blah, blah, and recommend you, or if it's word of mouth because they're talking like this, it's still the most powerful marketing tool, isn't it, really?
Yeah, for sure. And, when you work in like professional sports, that world is quite small. The players have been to the different clubs, and they have teammates and they have coaching staff, and everybody almost knows someone in all the teams. So if you do a good job, that word will be spread pretty quickly. And the same goes the other way around. If you do a bad job, most people will know about that as well. So, getting into this field, I think it's very important to be knowledgeable and know what you're doing. Otherwise, I believe you will have a pretty short career within professional sports, because that world is quite small.
Yeah, unless you're actually the sports person, but even so, it can still affect you if you do something wrong. We've seen what happened with Tiger Woods, for example, but anyone, even a professional footballer, they can go nose diving in their career if they do something wrong, or something happens to them, and next thing it affects their play, or they might not be able to play, something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that said, with all the word of mouth stuff, can you send me some juicy gossip stuff that scandalous? No, I'm joking. That's not what it show's about. We're not paparazzi. Yeah, don't worry about that. So was you actually into fitness yourself when you was young or something like that? I mean, because that's how I started, really, from school.
Yeah, so I was very much into football. That was always my sport. And I was an okay player, played for in the second division and stuff like that here in Sweden. was actually on a tryout for a professional contract and didn't get it, and that's when I decided to pursue a career within physical therapy, and with like I said, the aim and the goal of getting to a professional level. And I got into it pretty quickly, but I was also always a big sports fan. Always liked training, taking care of your own body, which is obviously very, very important in my role. I think it's important you lead from the front, no matter what job you have. If you're a CEO, if you're an entrepreneur, I think you always need to be a very hardworking person and show the people around you that, at least you take care of yourself. So I think it's very important. And, it's
definitely,
and it's an advantage to been in a sport like football. If you're going to work in it, even though you weren't professional, you'll still know more about those athletes and the challenges that they have than if you haven't been.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, I've only, well, I don't think I dated her, but I met her when she was playing for hockey for Sweden in the UK when I was doing a track meet. So she was in the same hotel as me. It's a long, long time ago, by the way. I'm showing my age now.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got eventually married to a Swedish professional football player. Yeah, she I can see Sweden's, she told me about Sweden's kind of elite sports scene and things like it is quite, up there really. As I said, Sven-Goran Eriksson was around me at the time, and at the same time, I forgot his name now, but he was playing for my team that I support, Arsenal, a Swedish player. I forgot his name now. And Sweden was playing in the World Cup around that time. They were quite.
What year are we in?
This is around the time of Sven-Goran Eriksson, so about the late 90s. So you probably would have played for Sweden in the World Cup in '98. You're probably still at school then.
Yeah, exactly. So don't know exactly.
If I remember his name, I'll say. I was going to say Bergkamp.
Then I will know for sure.
I was going to say Bergkamp, but I think that's Holland, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, exactly. He's not.
Yeah. I'll try. I'm trying. Yeah, Denmark. Sorry. Yeah. I'll remember it anyway. I'll probably remember it right at the end when it's too late anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, as well as sports, so you've worked with some high-end celebrities and things like that. Obviously, business is where the money is, actually, billionaires and things like that. And that's really where the kind of high-end area where you make money. But is that, how did that work out for you? Did you? Because I mean, when you hear physical therapist, you think only sports, don't you? Really? So how does that work? That you're working in something outside of fitness?
Yeah. So I think like when it comes to athletes and, busy professionals, I think they have a lot in common. They need to perform at the highest level, and you can consider business almost like their own sport, and it's very, very competitive. And entrepreneurs and CEOs and lawyers or whatever the profession might be, they do everything they can to perform at the highest level. And you might think that athletes have how much time they want in the gym, but that's actually not true. If I got 2 to 3 times per week, with the athletes in the gym, I was very, very happy with it. Most of their time is on the football pitch.
Yeah.
And there was a huge need for it among busy professionals, that they wanted to get in shape and they wanted to be able to perform, but they didn't have enough time to put in the gym, and that it couldn't work out 5 to 6 days per week. So they needed a solution where they got the results with less time. And that's basically where I came into the picture, and I started to work with them in the similar way that I worked with athletes, and made sure that they got results with just 2 to 3 workouts per week, and some lifestyle changes, and looking at the nutrition and having a holistic approach to it. And that way, they can actually live healthy, even though they don't spend too many hours in the gym or working out.
Yeah. That's fantastic that you've got that kind of clientele, and I think that will probably last for you. You just make a name for yourself, be a celebrity kind of physical therapist. What lessons have you learned from these high profile clients then?
A lot of them are very similar. They are very hardworking, and a lot of times they want to go all in. And a lot of times in my work, my job is to do the opposite. Especially with fitness, we need to make sure that maybe taking a step back and accepting that 3 times per week is what's going to be sustainable for you, because a lot of people want to make sure that what they get is actually sustainable for them in the long term. And even though they think they can work out 6 times per week for the next 3 months, if they quit doing that after 3 months, they will just go back to having being in the shape and being where they are right now after a few months of going off it. So it's much better that we actually find a solution where they might be working out 2 to 3 hours per week, and that's sustainable for them in the long run, than that we do something extreme. But what I would say is that a lot of them are very obsessed with what they do, and they're always trying to be the best, and I think that's why they get to where they are.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's, and that's a mindset thing as well, isn't it? On top of
For
that,
sure.
but it all works all together. Like it's a lot holistic. Could you tell me more about holistic wellness for those results?
Yeah, so it's easy that you think about training as just the workouts you do in the gym, or just the cardio you do, or whatever it might be. But it's not going to really help you that much if you don't take a look at all the other things. If you just sleep 3 hours per night and you eat like crap, you're not going to get that much out of the training. So you need to look at where can we make improvements in this person's life, and making sure that they get the workouts in, and then making sure that the lifestyle they have actually supported and actually improves and helps the body recover and build it back up stronger than before. So taking a look at the nutrition, the lifestyle they have, the sleep they get, all these things play a huge role in the results you're going to get. So that's a bit what I mean with holistic, not just solely focusing on the training and the nutrition, also looking at the lifestyle changes that we need to make to get results, but also to make it sustainable in the long run.
Yeah, and the other thing is that people think that you actually need hours in the gym and things like that to actually get the results, as well as looking at other holistic areas like nutrition, mindset, and all sleep is very important. Actually, it's probably the most underlooked area for a lot of people. They think, oh, it's just the food I eat, and then just go to the gym and eat your protein bar or whatever. But yeah, it's a lot more to it than that, and it's not just spending hours in the gym, is it? Could you break those myths down for us a bit?
Yeah, for sure. So if you just think about what we're actually doing in the gym, we're actually breaking the muscle tissue down, and we need to recover to make sure that it builds itself back up stronger, and that's what we do in the gym. So training hard is actually essential to get the results, but then you need to make sure that you recover, and you do that through getting rest, getting sleep, and also fueling your body with the right nutrition, so it has the best possible opportunities to recover until the next training session, when we do the same thing again. We break down the muscle tissue, then we rest, recover, and we build it up back up and stronger. So the things around training is just as important as the training, when it comes to nutrition and the sleep and the recovery.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I'll see here that you say that you can actually achieve peak performance from just 3 targeted sessions a week. And obviously, it is true that less can be more. But can you tell me more about that in the fitness realm? Because I didn't train 3 times. I did when I was a young athlete, because you don't want to burn yourself out. And in fact, it's a good idea that you do that, because what you're saying about the muscle tissues, actually, when you rest, that's a big part of training as well, when it repairs itself, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
But you tell us what you mean by only three targeted sessions a week, because it doesn't necessarily mean you can't train on those non-targeted days, is it?
No, exactly. But if the thing is this, if you can keep doing the things you do with 3 times per week every week for years, that will lead to much, much better results than going 6 times a week and doing it for 6 months. So that's one of the things. Another thing is that if you have worked out for 10 years, and you do 6 times per week versus 3 times per week, you will get a bit better results from doing 6 workouts per week, because it's more volume. But the difference between like 2 and 3 sessions per week, that is much bigger than going 3 to 5 sessions. So the first 3 is absolutely the most important ones. And making sure we get volume, and actually focusing on progressive overload, making sure that we're getting stronger and improving from week to week. I think that's the biggest mistake that people make when they train. They don't really track what they do, and they just do random things, and that's not going to get you any results. You need to make sure that you improve from a week to week basis. If you want to get more explosive, you need to do the exercises more faster. If you want to get stronger, you need to put on more weights or doing more reps, but you need some sort of progressive overload. And I would say that 90% of the people that go to the gym, they don't do that. They don't think about it. So it doesn't really matter if they go 6 times per week. If they would just decrease that time to 3 times per week, track what they do, and actually trying to improve each and every week, they would get much better results. But for someone that is very, very experienced, they will get slightly better results with training 5 to 6 times per week than 3. But the differences there is not that big. And for most people, especially if you're a high performer, a busy professional, it will be much more sustainable for you to work out 3 times per week and making sure you stick to that plan a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's that old adage, or like I was saying, of quality is better than quantity, isn't it, really? But of course, there is a minimum that, you obviously do expect to do. But at the end of the day, if you put quality, I mean, obviously, if you only do one session a month, that's not really going to do anything if you either. But you know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
Yeah. So you work at that balance, don't you, really? Because you don't want to be burned out either, or just do so much that it's like, well, you could have got that from 3 really high quality, things
Exactly.
that will work on all the big muscle groups, and that's all you needed, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah, no,
Exactly.
so that makes sense. Yeah, I'm just, it's obviously just something not on the whole thing that I've kind of got given to me by your agent or anything, but because I mean, I've been into sports. That was my thing as well, but I didn't become. So I became a firefighter, and I just did it on the side. But now I do all this, and personal development work and things like that. And a bit of fitness, obviously, but talk a good fitness session if you like with you and things like that. But I did have friends, elite athletes, even Olympic athletes, that went into fitness coaching and personal training, which obviously is the big name given, but you actually say you're a physical therapist rather than a personal trainer or a fitness coach. I mean, I've had some that actually coached Chelsea Football Club. I've had one friend that did that. I was there looking at his sessions. I know there's personal trainers everywhere, isn't there? Really. So,
Yeah.
So what's the difference? I mean, what is it that you do as a physical therapist that makes that name slightly different?
Well, first of all, I think it's a bit of a shame that personal trainers has lost a lot of its credibility, especially the last years. There was so much competition between the educations. So, now you can almost get a license as a personal trainer from 4 to 5 weeks, and to think that you can learn things about the human body as on 5 weeks is just ridiculous. And me personally, I actually have a personal trainer's license. I took that course.
I actually have one as well, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's only an online one. Yeah, it's not. I can't really go in a gym and say, yeah, that's it. Lift this weight. I'll probably get sued.
Exactly. And I remember we learned anatomy in one day, and if you compare it to what I did in physical therapy school, where we learned it for 3 months every day. So there's just so big difference in the amount of knowledge. I'm not saying that any personal trainers aren't good. There are several personal trainers that are very, very good, but I can't really think of a profession that has a license that has less trust than personal trainers these days. And I think that's a shame to these educational schools that they give out these certifications just for money and don't really provide enough knowledge for them to being able to work with the patients.
Exactly. Yeah. No, there's a lot that do that. I mean, in the UK, because I don't know, I can only go by the laws of the countries that I've been to, and obviously you hear a lot about the US, because the US it's where it started, and it's a big booming thing still there. However, in the UK, for insurance purposes, you do have to have some kind of piece of paper to show that you've qualified somewhere to get the insurance. Because the insurance is more important in case you get sued. Basically, it's like car insurance. You have to have car insurance in this country, but some countries, I was in and out of the Philippines for a good few years, and things were under the table a bit. You kind of could get away with no insurance. But
I don't think you need an insurance in Sweden either. I'm not entirely sure, but I think a lot of people call themselves a weight loss coach, and I don't think they have any special license for that.
Yeah, I think with the online world, and if you just go and sort of online and say you're a weight loss coach or whatever, or put it on the supermarket billboard or something, then I don't think insurance is. I think if you go in it. Yeah, if you go in the gyms, then there is, and I think it started getting like that for athletics as well in the UK. That is, so it's because different countries have different rules, even with coaching. You see, for example, when Christian, the one who had the heart attack on the football field in the Euros.
Ericsson.
Yeah, this isn't coaching, by the way, but when he got back on the mend again, he couldn't play. He couldn't play in the Premier. No, he couldn't play in Italy, I think, or
Italy,
somewhere.
exactly.
Yeah. And they do ECG. I've got a heart condition as well. They do ECG tests every year by compulsory for all their football players, professionals. In the UK, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was so easy. So I'm just saying that as a difference in different rules in different countries, and so that's what they're saying with PTs. You see,
Exactly.
But that's all it is. You just need a bit of paper, but it's the insurance they focus on in the UK. Whereas I think they should focus on everything. You think about it, doctors go for 4 years and they have to study anatomy and physiology. That's the main thing they're looking at before they look at the medicine they're putting in their body.
Yeah.
And really, what you're doing is giving them medicine, but it's kind of like, lifestyle medicine, isn't it? Really?
Exactly. It's definitely a sort of medicine, and definitely a sort of prevention as well.
Yeah.
Well, you prevent diseases and stuff without actually seeing it when you work out. So that's absolutely a great thing about having a good lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle, and working out and eating clean. You will get in the long term much easier life. Hopefully, there's no guarantees in life, but if you want to maximize your odds of a healthy life, you need to work out. You need to eat well.
Yeah, I mean, people would do well rather than saying, "Oh, that's my personal doctor," by saying that's my personal, physical therapist or coach or whatever, because a lot of pharmaceutical companies don't like the idea that you're preventing stuff. They want to sell their drugs, so there's doctors
that's how they make their money.
That's why there's doctors, scrupulous ones more so, that will say, well, it's all about the money, especially in America, And then, so if you're doing a job like what you're doing, it's slightly different. It's not. It's all about keeping yourself to live as long as possible, so, and to keep healthy, not to get sick so that you can take medicine and give all these pharmaceuticals company money. I mean, of course, there might be some that you need to take that enhances the lifestyle, enhances what you're doing. They're usually supplements, natural stuff, and of course you can't knock medicine if you really do need it, but I'm just saying in general, prevention's better than cure. That's the saying, isn't it? So
for sure. And unfortunately, we're not really programmed that way. If people would be able to process the long-term consequences, I don't think anyone would walk around being overweight, for example. But it's in human nature to either want to move away from pain or move towards pleasure, and with prevention you don't really get anything of it. So people don't really care that much about prevention. If I would say you need to work out for 15 years to not be sick in 20 years, a lot of people would not do it, and they want the fast effects. The good thing is that you get effects very quickly when it comes to the way you look and the way you feel. But the disease prevention, that's probably further down from the road, and even though it's equally important.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's starting to get that way, rather than so people in America saying, "Oh, I've got my own shrink." They say, "I've got my own coach," or whatever, And it's the same as a personal trainer. Well, in your case, a physical therapist, which is a more thoroughly trained. These days, like, I know exactly what you mean by that, because as I say, I've seen those courses, and it is, so you've got to be careful there as well, haven't you, really?
For sure.
But people are now starting to say, I've got my own trainer, or I've got my own coach, that kind of thing, rather than doctor or shrink, so you don't want to go down that road. Once you start saying that, then it's actually a little bit, you're not too late, but you've gone past what you're supposed to prevent, at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And you certainly don't want to be going in the kitchen popping so many pills,
No, exactly.
And as I say, unless you have to, but
and I think doctors also have a strong obligation to also give patients the alternatives.
Exactly.
I worked in a health center for 8 weeks, and how easily they gave out like something like antidepressants is absolutely ridiculous. I talked to some patients there. They said they've been taking it for 12 years or something. And I'm like, well, you're 27, and the doctor said when I was 12 that this is the only way I can get rid of it, which is just a complete lie. Because if you have low to moderate depression, exercise, either if it's through cardiovascular or through strength training, has just as good effect as these pills does, and it has a lot of positive effects other from the anxiety effects it get, while the antidepressant pills has a lot of downside effects, and a lot of people get addicted to them.
Yeah.
So there's definitely an obligation from the doctors to give the patients the alternatives. I'm not saying that no one should take antidepressant pills, but there's definitely alternatives to it that it's better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you 100%. And we're talking about things like, dopamine, endorphins, and there's something in the neuroscience called BDNF or something like that anyway, but it's to do with the neuroplasticity and stuff like that, where it helps with the reasoning side of the brain rather to be more resilient and creative rather than fear and anger,
exactly.
with all the primitive side, like when we was hunting in the, away from the saber-toothed tiger, want that part of the brain, you want the part that's really gonna, and a lot of executives were like that. And the fitness does that for you. It actually creates those chemicals, and it lowers serotonin, which is a natural Prozac, if you like, so
yeah.
So yeah, we could be for ages talking for ages about this. You're the expert in your field, what you do. Could you tell my listeners, the audience today, where they could find more about what you do and how they can get hold of you?
Yeah, for sure. So I can offer your audience a free access to my training app. Where they will get
you got an app,
access.
Okay.
Yeah, they can access my training programs. They will also get access to my community, where I will send out tips on a daily basis, and from that community they can reach out and engage with other and ask me questions as well. So that's probably the best way. And then they also get the free training app also, so no cost or no hidden fees at all. So that's probably the best way.
Yeah, definitely. And what is that? What is the app or? So
it's probably best that I give you the link, and maybe
I'll put it in the show notes. So if you check the show notes after you've listened to this, you'll find Philip's links to the app as we've been discussing here. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well, Philip, it's been a really good. And I always like talking about fitness, and it's been my life, as you can imagine. So I did track and athletics, but at the end of the day you dedicate yourself in a similar way, really. So there's a more of a mindset thing going on when you actually go to the actual competitions and things like that. So but yeah okay, well, it's really great, as I say, great pleasure having the show. Thanks very much for coming to speak to my audience today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.